Super.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carol Kauffman, the author. The author, you're the author. Never mind. I'm Carol Kauffman, the founder of the Institute of Coaching, and I am here with a wonderful author, Molly Tschang, who has done a bunch of things. She started out as a chemical engineer, worked with Cisco for about 20 years, and she is the author of Say It Skillfully with Marshall Goldsmith. And it's really good. It's really helpful for clients because it actually takes you through numbers of situation, power dynamics, people who won't shut up, and how to actually say things skillfully. And the framework is deceptively simple, which is when you're going to say it skillfully, it's me, it's you, it's we. Molly, why don't you take us through the me part first?
Well, thanks, Carol, for this great opportunity. And hello, everyone. So, people, I think, find it surprising that effective communication is 80% about me. And I think this is why grounding ourselves in being in good relationship with our own selves is the first thing. And so, for folks, like, what does that mean, being a good relationship with myself? And that's what's going on for me. And maybe you're angry and you're legitimately angry. Bad meeting that you were in. The next meeting, though, if you show up that way, is that really going to serve the work? And the ability to really let go of that past meeting and be really present for the folks that you want to serve right now. That sounds really easy, Carol. Not so easy. So letting go of negative emotions, being in good relationship with myself is a big part of it. And then when you think about serving the work, how do I show up to set the stage for success before I utter one single word? And that is our energy. And right now, everyone listening, watching, you have an energy. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're game on, right? The point is, how do you show up in an authentic way that says, I'm here to make whatever we're going to do the best it can possibly be? And for folks that I worked with for a long time, they will finally say, you know, Molly, it's not actually all the exact words said perfectly in the perfect way. It's that people really realize I care, that I want a good outcome, that I want to be helpful. And when the other person senses that in us, it changes the whole game. And that's what we have 100% control of. So that's the me
You
part.
know what's great about that? I think of John Whitmore, who kind of started leadership in business coaching in the UK. And he said there was two things that were like the outcomes of good coaching, which is self-awareness and self-responsibility. And really what you're saying is show up and be your like responsible self to set the tone, set the energy, and be proactive. So I love that.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I think people also, I hear a lot, well, you know, I can't believe they think XYZ of me. And folks, newsflash, you know, people's perceptions of us don't drop out of thin air. They just don't. And so somehow to your self-awareness point, and that has happened to me, right? Where you're like, wow, I did not come across the way I thought, you know, newsflash. And so that's okay. The point is being aware and cultivating the relationships where people will help you to sometimes, you know, gain the awareness that you don't naturally have, because we all have blind spots.
Mhm. I love one of the things you say, that communication is a team sport. So I'd love for you to talk about that a little. Then, if you have more thoughts on the me, and then get to the you.
Yeah. So this is my ultimate favorite. So folks, you're cheering for your team on the weekend, or maybe you're on one during the week at work. Yeah. When we think of communication, it's kind of like, oh, she doesn't get it. Oh, I can't believe they don't understand. Right. It's this kind of outward, someone out there has messed up. And perhaps that is the case. But I think the idea of also owning my fair share and thinking, you know, they don't get it. Maybe I wasn't exactly 100% clear. And so that realization that just like any team sport, literally, or music or art working together, communication is exactly that, right? It's a dynamic event. And we all play a role. We all play a role. Not just the boss, it's not just the boss's job to make sure everything's perfect. We all play a role. And I think the crazy thing is, you know, think of say it skillfully, which is learning how and when best to use your voice with confidence, with clarity, with impact. And it is the most life-changing skill, yet we really don't train people in it, Carol. right? You might do sales training, negotiation training, presentation training, which are all fabulous, of course. But that fundamental skill of how does Molly speak up in a way that works for Molly? How does Carol find a way to say what's right in the way that works for Carol? Because we're all unique. And so I think that that's why this simple framework is something I really want everyone to be able to apply. And, as we said, we all have blind spots. We all need each other's help. Nothing's going to be magically perfect. Oh, Carol, I see how passionate you are. I didn't quite catch all that. Could you repeat it? Would you say it another way? This is what I hear people say. Well, I had no idea what was going on. And then I say, well, so what did you do? Oh, nothing. I'm just like, oh, nothing.
Good idea.
That's a great idea. I understand too. Well, they don't want to hear it. I hear that a lot. They don't want to hear it. So here's my plea to folks. If you are really at a place where your boss wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to make it so scary, no one tells me what I need to hear. If that's really what they do in the morning, you aren't trying to be more skillful. I got to ask you, why are you there? Why are
So
you
I
there?
think two things. I remember this is a story about me. So we had an executive director years ago, Laurel Doggett. She was like fantastic. And there was something that I had asked her to do like 5 times. So I finally got the me, the you, the thing right. So I just said, like, Laurel, is there something I'm doing wrong that you're not hearing that I want you to blah, blah, blah? She goes, yeah, you've never actually asked me. Like, it would be good if I was wondering that. I never actually said, Laurel, will you please do X? So the question is, if there's a good communication snafu, me first. What is it that I'm doing? If this was my fault, why would that be? And usually you can come up with an embarrassing answer.
Yeah. So this is the thing. I also want the normalization of folks. We're all at one point part of the problem. And we can then therefore be part of the solution. So no one is out there is off the hook. We all choke up. We all get over emotional. We don't say things clearly. That's okay. Okay, let's just normalize that. No one is out there a perfect saint. It's just that ability to normalize it, but to be aware and to own it when it happens, right? And that's hard because the idea of I'm wrong. Yes, I was wrong, right? That ability to say I am wrong, because when we're promoted and we're fabulous at work, you're kind of known for all the things that you did right. However, we know, and Roger Federer is my favorite tennis idol, he clocked of all his matches, he won only 54% of the points. 46% of the points failed, lost, if you can think, right? So you're so on the verge of 50-50. So if we all normalize, that is how we get to be our best. It's through our failures, it's through our struggles, it's through our mistakes and learnings, those learning moments, as Gary Ridge calls them. So that ability to embrace that. Now, that's a judgment call, and we need to make the right mistakes. We can't be making catastrophic career-ending or company-ending mistakes. We all need everyone to realize that. But in the course of growing, that's how we grow. When we're a little bit uncomfortable, when we're making the right mistakes, that's how everyone raises the bar.
Right. That's like Amy Edmondson's book about, making the right decisions. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's by Amy. It's great. One of my mottos one year was I want to make new mistakes. It's like I'm going to make mistakes. I want to make new ones.
100%. I say to folks all the time, we don't really want to make the same mistake over and over. We're all in making new mistakes. I love that, Carol.
So let's go to the you of me, you, we.
Yeah. So once you're really in good relationship with yourself, you really have this gift of being able to identify and truly empathize with someone else's emotional experience, right? And that is so fundamental to actually connect. And only if we connect, and I'll quote Harry Kramer, relate to each other, can we possibly, influence. And if we can't influence, there's no chance in heck we're going to lead. So this connection part is really key. And it isn't about, I'm being very respectful. It's that the other person senses that you have an idea of what it's like for them. We're not pretending you know exactly, but that effort that you put so that the other person says, you know what, Carol is really trying to understand what it's like for me. She really is putting in effort. That goes a long way. And then the ability to actually have the aha moments. Oh my goodness, I had no idea that was going on for you. So that
Mm.
gets to this point of now I'm understanding more about you as a human and where you are. You're understanding more about me as a human and where I am. From that platform, great things can happen. Great things that happen
Mm.
because we're connecting not as marketing director and program manager one, we're connecting as human beings, and there's a level playing field there. For sure at work, there's different titles, there's different, seniorities and experiences. I'm not taking any of that away, but we always at heart we're equal human beings. So when you connect and really empathize and put yourself in someone else's shoes, you can really connect. And from that point, I think the communication really can really catapult because people feel safe with each other.
Well, that connects to a point that you've made throughout the book, which I think is great, which is the whole idea of create shared reality. Why don't you talk about that? I think that's very powerful for us as coaches, leaders, et cetera.
100%. Yes, thanks. So this is my number one favorite thing because people ask me, Molly, what do you see, in companies around the world? And the number one thing I see missing in every company of any size, any shape, doing anything, anywhere, is a lack of shared reality, meaning being on the same page about the objective facts and the human experience. And the human experience, where people are at, how they're feeling, because that in its whole totality is what makes for our full reality. And so any one person has their view. Right? You see a car accident, there's 10 views, 10 people have 10 different versions of the car accident. So being
Mhm.
able to bubble up the different realities, and this means safe space because I may not be agreeing, but when people bubble up the differences, the different realities, we can then realize, oh my gosh, we're not on the same page, right? Because if we're not on the same page, we will not make the best decisions, execute with speed, and achieve our greatest outcomes. It's not possible. So being able to create this accurate shared reality as really a platform from which we can all soar. And so you ask, well, how do we get it? And the obvious, it's not anyone's job. It's everyone's job to create one because we all see things differently. And that is where it takes some courage sometimes to say, I see everyone is aligned with this decision. I want to add something because I think it might help us, make a better one. Or I see things actually very differently, and I'd really be grateful if you take a listen because I really want us to do our best work together. Not because I want to make you guys all look dumb and I'm super smart, but because I want to serve the whole. And when you're out there serving the whole, by the way, that's going to go well. So that ability to create the difference reality, so then you can align on what a shared reality is. And from that point, it's all strong. Performance, this is a great thing. Someone thinks someone should be promoted. The other person thinks they should be on a performance improvement plan. Lack of shared reality, right? How
Uh-oh.
come I'm not being promoted? Well, okay, now we have a little bit of a gap. So I'm making this personal for people because it really comes down to that.
That's great. That's great. And that, two things. One is that goes back to communication as a team sport. Because if you're not playing the same game, you're kind of like, in trouble. And a couple of comments. Liz Guthridge, thanks. She says, FYI, I often teach people how to make effective asks. And then Patrick Donadio, Molly, you are so on target. Communication should be a dialogue, not a monologue. This is why email can be challenging, as it represents a linear communication without feedback. I hadn't thought of asking you. Erica Dewan talks about email, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on saying it skillfully with email when it is one way.
Yeah, it totally applies. And I think that emails can be a great place to hide. So if you have this back and forth, at some point say, hey, I think it might be helpful if we have a chat. And I know, and I was a technical folk. I was a chemical engineer. Believe me, I would be happy to type emails all day. And if you can get people to kind of hop on the phone and just align and tone of voice and all that, because it can get very combative on email because now I'm digging in. I'm even more right than I was in the first email. And it goes back and forth. And I've never really seen it go well. And then it gets documentation cover my butt, right? Well, I wrote that in, line 87 of the email. You're like, that's not how this is going to work. So I think, I think I would challenge people to look at your emails. There's a great book, Smart Brevity, that I just read, that you got to net it out. It's not everyone's job to synthesize the 3 nuggets in your 5 paragraphs. I'm sorry, it's not. And I get it. It takes longer. It takes a lot longer a lot longer to say less, but convey more. And I want to encourage folks, and I do this. I look at my emails and I'm just ripping out words. And I take out words. Sometimes it's even consulting-esque, just because you want to get the essence. Spacing, sending a paragraph like dense. Come on, give them a bite, give them a bite, give them a bite. And so I do think folks think about what you would want to receive.
Well, that goes back to, having the other person in mind. One piece of advice I give and try to take is when you're writing an email or something, imagine can the person read it on their phone, walking down the street in Manhattan? If they can understand it walking down the street in Manhattan, then you've got it. That's kind of where I wind up. And of course, there's the famous Winston Churchill quote, which was like, "I'm sorry, didn't have. If I had more time, I would have been able to write something shorter." Of course, he said it very pithily.
Yes.
One thing you just mentioned, which is one of the most important things for me, is you mentioned tone of voice, which is so powerful. So in the say it skillfully, I'm not sure if this fits under in the me, you, and we, if this is under the you or the we, but why don't you talk a bit about the power of voice tone?
Yeah, I think the power of voice gets to the me in that how am I showing up? How am I showing up? And I also I really don't want folks to think I got to find the perfect words and I have to say them perfectly. It is not about perfection. So that notion of my intention, part of the me, is what is my intention and making clear. I'm not here to make anyone else look bad. I'm here to be a team player. If you have something in the bubble, I call it, that you're worried about, that's a cue for transparency. Put it out there and make sure there's no misunderstanding. So I think that tone of voice, there's a bit of practice to this. And, Carol, I've heard myself taped like way too many times and I cringe every single time. However, when I created my course, I built that in. Talk into your iPhone and make yourself listen to it. Believe me, it does get better because you can't really tell how you sound until you hear how you sound. And
Yes.
I also want to offer tone is also pace. When we're a little worried about a topic or it's a little stressful, we tend to talk and not stop. It just is this monologue fire hydrant because we just want to get it off our chest because we're being about me. However, what we need to do is deliver the message in the bites that can be received. And
Right.
it's a very natural thing. We're a little bit nervous. It might be a meeting with our boss. So it's like, gotta breathe a little, take a sound bite, make a point come across, and then say, I said a lot. Let me just do a checkpoint. What are you hearing? So if you're having a long conversation and you've gone on a bit, question yourself, hey, what are you hearing? And then whatever they say, you're going to say thank you. And if it isn't exactly what you had intended, one thing I need to make more clear is this, and let me rephrase that or let me restate it, right? But now we're getting clarity. Clarity is not, people are supposed to understand what I said. It's, effective communication is about what others hear, right? And so you're not hearing for them, so you have to ask. I love when I ask folks, how's your team? I think my team. I'm like, oh, you think your team. This is a cue. Hey, how about asking? I know my team thinks X, Y, or Z, folks, right? So assuming is also something that is not something I would recommend.
So tell us more about the we. So all of you, it's again in the Say It Skillfully book. There's a whole section on me, then a whole section on you, and then a whole section on we, and then a whole different series of sections on kind of problems that come up, power imbalances, people who won't shut up, all kinds of things. Why don't you speak to the we a little bit, and then we'll talk about some of the powerful applications where, guys, be really good to read it, because what Molly is sort of like famous for, if you ever like get her like newsletter, which you can get, by the way, sayitskillfully.com, she actually gives words to you, like, this is what you can say. There's probably, how many are in the book? 100?
Yeah, there's lots of scenarios, Carol, and I think that's
Really
what I have
helpful.
found is, and thanks to people like you, people are realizing that I can speak up. I know a lot of you are out there thinking I can't say it. I said, I understand. I did not speak English until I was 5, folks. So this is 100% learnable. And so that notion of finding your voice and learning how and when best to use it, I got to tell you, we can all do it, and we can all be better, present company included, 100%. So me, I'm now in good relationship with some of you, creating connection. We is, who are we together? We're generally in companies, there's more than two people. And who are we together? We're all part of the same team or couple, family, work group, but each of us is having a different experience about being part of that group, right? So
Wait,
the
stop. Just say that again. That is so powerful. Just say it again.
we may be in the same couple, same team, group, church group, company. We're all part of the same unit. However, each of us is having a very different experience of being on that same team. Okay. So that
Wow.
ability to truly empathetically understand what it's like for each other, that truly walking in each other's shoes is fundamental for effective collaboration, powerful group identity, and sustained success. Right.
Yeah.
And this is often hard for people in a group to appreciate. When you're part of a group, there is that collective. We as a group have a brand. And yes, as an individual, you make your moves, but you need to realize that when you make your individual moves, you're reflecting that on the whole, right? So we have a responsibility, when you're at your alma mater and people are wearing their college sweatshirts or what have you, there's a sense of we are X, right? And so that's a really important question. Like, who do we want to be? Who are we? What are some of our norms? Who are we together is a very, very great opportunity to create cohesion. And when you have a cohesive team, guess what? You do your best work together, right? Good things happen. And that's something that, sure, it takes some leadership to give folks a chance, but each of us play a role. And I always say, in any culture, you either are adding or you're detracting. You're not neutral in a culture. Every moment, and sometimes I'm detracting from a culture because I've just kind of lost it that day. That's okay. But net, you want to be positive. We want to be adding. We bring new people in to add, enhance our culture. So the we part is a lot of the skillfulness about, what do we want to have happen? What serves the whole? And I use this great example in companies because at the end of the year, there's always the head count fiasco, right? Everyone is jockeying for position for more head count. And let's just say marketing, because they're so slick, makes the best pitch. They win the most head count, right? Yay for marketing. However, an accurate shared reality would have revealed, you know what? We really needed more engineers. We didn't need more marketing people. So you won the battle with marketing, but you lost the war. And so it's really important as a whole to establish what serves the whole. And so if, in fact, in headcount, someone gave up some headcount, they didn't lose. We applaud them because they actually served the whole by coughing up the headcount to the place that it was needed more. Does that make sense? This is a real dynamic that when you're on the highest performing teams, this is how we play. We play for each other, right? It's not about me winning. It's about us.
Okay, so I want you to do a Molly, okay? So one of the things you do in your newsletter or whatever is someone comes up with a problem and you go, okay, do this. And then you actually like do it. And then I go, oh, why didn't I think of that? So here's one. I think it's about holding back. And one of the things that you work with Marshall, because Marshall has different sort of tips through the book. One is the adding too much value tip. So here's one of my friends here, I'm in Portugal on vacation, by the way, talks about in her book group, and we all know this person, there's a person who talks so much that people actually will leave the group rather than confront her. So, okay, you're talking to that person who talks too much. What's a Molly? What would you say? Let's just talk.
So I think part of that is I'm going to assume that I have a good relationship with her. I think sometimes people also think I have to have a great relationship with someone. Not necessarily. I've told very senior people, hey, I haven't worked with you. So I acknowledge I haven't worked with you. I'm noticing something that I think may not be landing the way you think. And there could be some things that you could do to be better, right? And so I've always had people warmly welcome that input, right? So, but you have to kind of tee off on what the relationship is. So in this case, let's just say it's Sue. And I have to think about this. I'm like, oh my God, am I dreading it? Like, this is just going to be a nightmare. Okay. If you go into a conversation like that, Sue's going to feel that. Probably not going to go great. what you're going to go in and say, okay, what am I doing here? I want to serve the whole because I don't want people to leave the group. I really am here speaking up in service to everyone. And I know that Sue is super passionate and I love her as a human being, but she just doesn't know. And I know that Sue would not want to be behaving in a way where she's driving other people from the group. Have some compassion. And by the way, folks, we all have blind spots. This is a big one for Sue. So now you breathe in. What am I? I'm breathing in compassion. I'm breathing in understanding. I'm breathing in heart, because that's kind of how I'm going to show up for Sue.
So that's the me. You
That's
started
the
out
me.
as the me.
Then I'm like, Sue, what's Sue? Sue is she has no idea, because for every book club in the last 2 years, no one said anything. She thinks it's fine. She has a 10-minute monologue. She may not know it's a 10-minute monologue or a 20-minute monologue. She has no idea. So she's clueless. So I think about me, how do I own my fair share? And I say, hey, Sue, I have loved our book clubs and I love how enthusiastic you are about our book clubs. But I have something that I think is really important. And I have to be honest, I should have brought this up sooner. And that's on me. Boom. You're owning something right out of the gate. I kind of did something wrong and I'm owning it. See how you're modeling that?
Mm-hmm.
In our book club, I know you're super passionate, and I'm just wondering, we have 10 people on the call. How many of the folks do you think speak up? So do a little pulsing to get Sue to think about, I never thought about if anybody's speaking up. And then say, how much do you think you're speaking? And you're not digging. You're just very open and neutral.
Oh, shared reality. Got it.
Shared reality, okay?
The D, shared
Yep.
reality.
And then say, here's the thing, right? I see you wanting to, well, I'm really, no one else speaks up, so I just keep going. I totally get that. Here's an ask I have of you, because I think this would make a big difference. The next book club, I want you to really hold back a bit and just you can even give her a number of minutes, make it a game, right? I would do this before I would say that people are leaving the group because of you, because that's kind of nuclear. Okay. So I would wait on that. Say, hey, can we make a deal? And I'll tell you what, I think it would really help everyone feel more comfortable in the group. What do you think? Right. So hopefully.
What do you think? I would not have thought the what do you think?
What do you think? You're in a dialogue back and forth. We want to make this an amazing group where everyone feels welcome. Oh, well, and so, okay, well, you said a lot. What are you?
Sue. Got it. Including
Yes.
Sue.
Right. And at the end of any chat, and folks who work with me know this, I say, okay, we've said a lot. What's your top takeaway? So let her share a top takeaway. And yours might be, my top takeaway is how open you are, right, to changing in a way that's going to help the group. So it's very collaborative. And then you say, and you make a point. Okay, we're going to have a book, and then we're going to schedule a meeting with you after the book club, and you and I can have a little debrief. What do you think? Right? Hey, that's great. So now you set up a second moment in case it doesn't go as well as you think. You kind of keep pressing on it. But listen, it's a friendly thing. Book clubs are friendly things. We really do want people to feel welcome and like it, but also not feel like they're, putting pins in their eyeballs. I mean, no one wants to be in that situation. I get it.
That's great. The other thing you raised through this implicitly is that when you need to have a conversation, it doesn't have to be one conversation where you just put it all out and then maybe just sort of do too much that might just blow the person away.
Thank you for bringing it. People do that all the time. I'm thinking this could be 6 conversations, folks, right? Because you don't know where the person is. Maybe the first thing is just testing the water. Where are they? Showing them how much you care about them. Maybe they don't realize how much you care about them. That's all worth it because you're building relational capital. You want to build your relationship. And now, folks, for sure, when you have, great relationship, but you can say, look, you totally botched it up. Stop screwing out, and you need to do that. You can do that. I'm not saying that. So it depends on the time and place and the person, but you definitely don't have to feel like, oh, I have to like wade into the deep end inch by inch. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, that reminds me, in the Real-Time Leadership book I wrote with David Noble, I talk about rule of thumb, which is the old rule of thumb is when you say something, you say it because if you don't say it, your head is going to explode and like roll down the steps. Okay, that's usually our cue for I'm going to say something. The new rule of thumb is if you feel yourself withdrawing or getting judgmental of the person, that's the new rule of thumb. Say something then. But if we read your book, we can say it skillfully. So we have just a minute left. Why don't you leave us with some words of wisdom, and everyone, sayitskillfully.com. Molly's got a great newsletter. I mean, really, it's great. And you could all learn how to do a Molly or Mollyism, as Colleen Andrews says. Love the Mollyisms.
Yeah.
Acknowledge how we feel first, focus on the good of the conversation, and take ownership. Now, your last word for us.
So here's the thing, folks. I don't know you folks out there. I hope I'll have a chance to meet you, but I want you to know that you matter. I know you matter. You matter. And your words are what are going to help people to realize how much you matter. And so it is a skill, it's a life-changing skill, and your ability to speak up in a way that's true to yourself and say what needs to be said will help you live a better life, be better at work, just really be happier, and more productive and successful in all of your life. So I really encourage you to take advantage of the skills. You know, I've said it, this learn how and when best to use my voice with confidence, with clarity, with impact. I mean, you can't have enough of it. And you can be the change you want to see in the world. And you go into a place, and I want you to be able to spread your wings and fly and use your voice powerfully in service to the whole. And I am here to support you in any way that I can. And Carol, thank you for this amazing opportunity to join you.
Thank you, Molly. It's wonderful. Everybody, bye-bye. I'll see you in September.